Here are the 6 best frugal habits of millionaires. And these are kind of counterintuitive. For a lot of people, they have a perception of how rich people spend their money. And the truth is, I think you might be a little surprised. So, number 1 is all around the idea of home utilization. This is understanding how much space do you actually need. It's very interesting. The way that most people go and buy a home is they figure out how much they would qualify for based off of how much of a down payment they can put down, right? So they're buying something based off of what's the absolute most I can purchase here. And that's really interesting if you think about it, because literally nothing else in our life do we purchase in that way. You don't go to the grocery store and be like, how much meat can I afford, right? You don't do that. You don't buy a car based off of what's the most expensive car I could afford, right? And yet we do that with our houses. As soon as we come into money, or not even when we come into money, like first-time home buyers do this too. It's like we're told to go shopping and buy the most expensive thing that we can qualify for, right? The problem with this, though, is that you're buying based off of what your money can get you, not what you actually need. And if you reverse that and start from a position of what do I actually want in my living space? What do I actually need? I don't need 12 different rooms. I actually just need 3 rooms that are designed in this way and that has access to a grocery store, to a school, or to a park, or whatever the thing is, right? So instead of starting from the position of how much can I afford when it comes to a house, we start from the position of what do I want and what do I need? And from there, we go and find that. Number 2, you'd be surprised that a lot of rich people don't drive super fancy, nice cars. And it's a very similar reason to not just going out and buying the most expensive house that you can afford. Because cars, at the end of the day, are just a vehicle for getting you from point A to point B. Now, some vehicles will get you there in a more fun way. But a lot of people don't care about that. I know I'm not necessarily one of those people that really cares about cars or fancy machinery and getting from one place to the next. For the most people, we buy nice cars as a status symbol to show other people how much wealth we have. But the thing is, like, the difference between playing the status game and the money game is that in the status game, we care what other people think about us. Whereas in the money game, all we care about is what our money can do for us. And the value of money is that it can buy us freedom. It can buy back our time. Whereas winning the status game, that just wins you the positive opinion of people who don't necessarily care about you in the first place. So congratulations, you played a stupid game and you won a stupid prize. So buy a car that you want. And for most millionaires, that means just buying a reliable vehicle. Buy that Toyota or that Honda that's going to last you for years and that you don't have to worry about breaking down on the side of the road. And if it does break down, you can get it fixed within 24 hours. Whereas if you got your Bugatti, that thing breaks down and you're not getting that back for like 5 years, right? So that's number 2. Number 3 is rich people, interestingly, despite the fact that they have more money than poor people, they have more money than they could ever need in a lot of cases. They've won the money game. They pay attention to their money much more closely than the poor person does. And this is super surprising to me in some ways because, like, you would think if you're poor and you only have $100 left to your name, you're going to guard that thing. You're going to penny pinch and you're going to be like looking at that money every single day because that's all you got. But rich people, they have hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And they are still paying close attention to it. They, in fact, pay more attention to their money because they've understood a very simple concept. And it's like a chicken and the eggs situation. The thing that enabled them to get rich was the fact that they paid attention to their money. So it wasn't that they started paying attention after they became rich. It's the one led to the other. And so rich people, wealthy people, millionaires, they tend to do regular financial audits. That might be daily, weekly, monthly, but they do it more frequently than poor people. Now, I understand why you might not want to do your financial audits. I was this guy for a really long time, and it's the reason I was losing the money game. It's because I had no money. It's because there was nothing in the bank account. So whenever I would look at it, I would just feel like shit. So I would just put my head in the sand, pretend it didn't matter, or pretend there was nothing I could do about it, and I'd ignore it. But the thing is that what you focus on expands. If you want to win the money game, if you want to continue winning the money game, you got to keep focusing on your money. And the best way to do that is through a daily financial audit, whether that's through an aggregating software like Monarch or Mint that pulls together all your different bank accounts and credit card accounts so that you can see where money is flowing in and out of, but actually taking the time every day to look at that and consciously ask yourself with intention, where am I spending money that I don't need to be? Where is my money working poorly for me? Where could I put it to better use? Do that, and I think you'll notice that the money game starts to shift pretty damn quickly. Next is, what are we on? Number 4. Number 4, this is an interesting one. I think a lot of poor people look at wealthy people and think they're really good at negotiating and driving a hard deal and always haggling for things, right? They're always, I'm not going to overpay for anything. When I buy that car, I'm going to get it at a discount. I'm going to get a good deal. And they're always haggling. They're always bargaining, always negotiating to get the absolute best deal. In my experience, wealthy people don't play that game. And it's not that they're not playing that game because they have enough money that they don't need to worry about it, but actually they focus more on how to go and add more value to the world and make more money than they do trying to nickel and dime people. So they're happy to pay full price for a thing if it actually brings them the value that they want from the thing. If they have to haggle it down, it's not worth the initial price to them, and they're not going to buy the thing. So I think that's one really big difference, is that poor people will try and nickel and dime every single thing, whereas rich people will say, you know what, this is worth what it's worth. I will pay that number. And if I want to make more, I will go figure out how to make more money. And I think as soon as you make that mental shift, the game really starts to change, because you go from being scarcity mindset, playing defense, trying to penny pinch, and instead you're going out there and you're saying, how do I penny maximize? How do I penny duplicate? How do I take every penny and turn it into 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of just trying to hoard what I have? Number 5. The idea of looking poor. Surprisingly, you would not know 92% of the millionaires you cross paths with that they are in fact rich. They don't wear super nice designer clothing. They're not wearing the fancy watches and all that stuff. And again, it goes back to the reason that we talked about with the house and the car, is that it's the difference between winning the status game versus the money game. At a certain level, you want to buy nice quality things, but beyond that, just buying luxury items for the sake of signaling status. Well, if you have to wear something to signal your status, it's kind of the most anti-status move of all, right? So you'll be surprised. Most millionaires, they buy good quality clothes and they look very ordinary to most people on the street. They're not wearing the really big, pretty much a surefire sign that you're poor is if you're wearing like a big Gucci t-shirt or big Versace sunglasses. It's a surefire sign that you're not actually winning the money game. The people that are, more often than not, they're just wearing a simple t-shirt and some jeans. Nothing too fancy. Doesn't mean it's low quality, but it's nothing super crazy. Last but not least is this might be the most important habit for becoming wealthy and winning the money game, is simply deciding for yourself, what is enough? Because enough is not a number in the bank. It's a mindset. When you reach enough, that could be at $1 million, it could be at 10 million, it could be at 50 million. I don't care what that number is for you. You have to figure that out for yourself. And the best way to do that is sit down and figure out, what does your dream life actually look like? And then work backwards to, what does that dream life actually cost? If you want to live in a nice, building with a good view, and like you can go and tour the places that have those views, you can get that number. You put that on the spreadsheet. You want to drive that particular car. Cool. Go shop it. See what that number is. Put it on the spreadsheet. You want to wear these clothes. Cool. Put them on the spreadsheet. Figure out exactly what that lifestyle would cost you, and then that becomes the target. You don't need to go, you'll be surprised. For a lot of people, they're like, oh, actually, I can afford that lifestyle off of $250,000 a year. Why am I watching all these videos about making $5 million a year? I don't need that. Like, I'm happy at this number. And just knowing what that number is for you helps you triangulate your actions more accurately. So you're not wasting all sorts of motion going for something that at the end of the day isn't actually going to add any incremental value to your life. Because the truth is, after a certain point, like once you've won the money game, money loses its value. It doesn't actually bring anything more beyond a certain point. You have your basic needs met. You have, a nice house, a nice car, nice solid lifestyle. Like beyond that, money is not really going to meaningfully change things. So just figure out for yourself, what does enough mean? Work backwards from that number. And that right there might be the single most powerful frugal habit of millionaires. You take these, run with them. I guarantee it's going to change your life. It's going to do it for me. See you in the next episode, guys.